With fall upon us, we're all looking for cozy books to read as the weather gets cooler. And if you're anything like me, nothing beats the satisfaction of finishing a book. Then the depression that follows because you want more of that book, but that's beside the point. Lately, I've been reading behemoth of books like Game of Thrones and the Stormlight Archive, so I need a little bit of a change. So over the past few weeks, I've read some great short books that you should definitely check out. A couple days ago was the first day of fall, and we're back in Brooklyn now. So we're gonna go check out some bookstores. Check it out, there's a little library. I bought this book a couple weeks ago, and for whatever reason, I didn't jump directly into it. The book was kind of hiding. Found it. I've heard great things about it. The story definitely intrigues me. Like, I literally have no clue what to expect, but it's pretty short, so hopefully I can finish it within the next 2 days. I like this one. The protagonist just met a robot, and I think it's the robot from the front of the book, and his name is Mosscap. For whatever reason, this is getting pretty deep, asking some philosophical and psychological questions. Oh, that makes so much sense. It's called a psalm for the wild-built because Mosscap is wild-built. That's so cool. I didn't even think of that. So this is day 2 of reading Psalm for the Wild-Built, and it's so good. I'm definitely gonna try and finish it today. I'm on page like 105, so only about like 40 more pages to go. There's a lot of really good lines in this book. And I have officially now finished the book. Oh man, it makes you question what's the meaning of life? It does have a very heartwarming ending though. I really enjoyed it. It is late now though, so I guess I'm going to bed. I've taken a day to kind of ponder what this book is trying to invoke, and all I have to say about it is it's a beautifully written novella that tackles the themes of what does it mean to have purpose and what actually is purpose. The story is told through meaningful conversations taking place between our two characters, the robot and the monk, which both characters are from completely different worlds, and how the psychological and philosophical questions all stem from this. The aesthetic of this world to me feels very like Studio Ghibli-esque. It feels very fantastical with a bit of like an industrial world that had fallen before this fantastical world was built up. This book on the surface is basically teaching Robot how human civilization works, with often him retorting in arguments that humans are very unique to that of the other animals that he's experienced. I don't know why, when Robot was introduced, he weirdly reminded me of the robot from Big Hero 6.
I heard a sound of distress. What seems to be the trouble?
Kind of how they're always asking how they can service you. My favorite scene from this book is when they're cooking together. And this is the scene where they both kind of become comfortable with one another, and they both kind of laugh about the silliness of certain humanistic social norms. Overall, the book is a heartwarming story about self-acceptance, and it's super easy to get caught up in. We got another book. So I just started reading another book. The other day while I was at my local bookshop, the owner recommended that I read it. It was on the top 100 of the 21st century books to read. So far I like it. It's small, so I definitely think I can breeze through it in the next few days. Today's a really beautiful day in the city, so I'm headed to a coffee shop called Shakespeare & Co. Probably finish the book. I only have like 50 more pages left. fascination. That's where the title comes from. And I just finished the book. Wow, I don't really know how I feel about it. It was very good. The ending feels very real and grounded, but I mean a little romanticized, but I don't know. It's an interesting book. The craziest thing to me about this novel is that it's a historical fiction, and we get told this at the end of the novel, a note on the text, that it's basically based on real events. Small Things Like These takes place in 1985 in Ireland on a Christmas Eve where a coal merchant finds something out he probably shouldn't have about his local religious church group house. The novel is an atmospheric story that explores the moral dilemma of the masses. To emphasize this without basically spoiling the whole ending, the story is all about a small gesture that could change someone's life. These themes kind of remind me of a social psychology theory called the bystander effect. This effect explains why people are less likely to help someone in need when other people are around. It's our societal instinct to diffuse of responsibility when other people are present. Our main character does not have these thoughts. All of this is further accentuated by the time of year and Christmas and how that it can bring out both the worst and the best in people. In terms of writing, this novel is heavily created through inner dialogue and how our main character is haunted by the past and how he's trying to give back to those he sees in a similar situation to the way his poor mother and he was growing up. There was also a heavy emphasis on displaying the Irish dialect in dialogue. I just read James Joyce's A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man, so it's kind of freshly on my mind. It might be because they're both Irish writers, but I drew the parallel that both of them kind of use this wandering thought and the internal dialogue. Specifically on page 107, we see our main character Furlong and his thoughts kind of moving along as he gives random details about a river and the town, specifically the river which he was supposed to bring one of the girls from the church to. This book's style of storytelling is all about the minuscule details that it presents and how it leads you to the ending. These details are meant to mimic the way that the author became a writer in the first place and how all of the events of her life are all by stumbling onto this random newspaper that was on the ground. The reason I got recommended this book is because it was on the New York Times top 100 books of the 21st century. I think it definitely deserves its place on this list. Basically, all I have to say is go and read it. There are a couple other books that I think fit the criteria of cozy fall-time books that are under 300 pages. Days at the Morisaki Bookstore and Before the Coffee Gets Cold, which are both excellent reads, and I definitely recommend that you check them out. It is October now, and while we were on the topic of Irish writers, on September 24th, this book came out. I would say I was pretty excited. Look how cool that cover is. But I've only read about 100 pages into this book, and I will say I'm not extremely into it, as well as I feel like as a reader, I've kind of grown away from her style of writing. I feel like I'm in a different place right now and just don't feel like reading this style of writing. I don't know, I may come back and read this again at some other point. I just cannot recommend it right now.